everyone. Heather says I think we're live. So welcome to our April edition of Jumpstart's Facebook Live. Thank you for joining us as we wrap up another financial literacy month. There's still a couple more days and some activities ahead, but we are in the home stretch, and it has been a fun and exciting month, and I hope you've had an opportunity to participate in some of the activities or conduct some financial literacy observances of your own. So as you know, for those of you who have been with us before, every month when we do Facebook Live, we focus on our financial literacy principle of the month. And for April, that principle is understanding taxes. Obviously, how we pick that, of course, with April 15th as the usual tax day. But at this point in the month, most of us have already filed our income taxes for the year. At least I hope we have. And if you haven't, I hope you have filed the suitable request for an extension. But for most of us, tax time is behind us. Nevertheless, there's still an important element of tax time that I think is worth talking about, and that's what we're going to focus on today. And that topic is tax refunds. Now, before I go on, let me just, I know we've got folks joining us, throughout, and so welcome if you're just joining us. But we're going to talk about tax refunds, and if you are just joining us, and you happen to be someone who isn't getting a tax refund this year, or you don't usually, don't tune us out. Stick with us, because actually the suggestions that we're going to talk about today are suggestions for how to use a non-recurring lump sum of money that you may acquire, like a tax refund, as a teaching tool for talking to your own kids about personal finance. So with that, again, welcome to anyone just joining us. Welcome especially to those who are joining us for the first time. What I'd like to do then is start by giving you some of our suggestions for how to use your tax refund as a teachable moment. And I think the first thing is that the refund itself is a great reminder to have that conversation with kids about taxes. Now, especially if they're older, if your kids are older, if they are getting up to be that age where they may be getting their first real paycheck, they may be getting a summer job or a part-time job and having to learn about deductions and paying taxes, this is a really good time, just a reminder to have that conversation. And I think that before I move on, let me just go back and say that the suggestions that we have today are not suggestions or advice for how you should use your tax refund. So we're not here to give financial advice today. The purpose of our talk is how to use your tax refund, or perhaps another similar lump sum of money that you might get, as a teachable moment in talking to your kids about money. So the first thing, of course, is just receiving that tax refund. It's a great reminder, because it doesn't happen often, for us to just sit down and have that conversation with our kids. Now, if your kids are older, if your kids maybe know something about taxes, perhaps they've had their financial education class in school, and so they are a little bit more knowledgeable, then take it a step further and talk a little bit about why did your family get a tax refund this year, and maybe talk about what you would do differently next year. Because the other thing that this time of year is good for is that, when we file our taxes, oftentimes, and admittedly myself included, we think about, oh, I wish I had thought about that sooner and I would have done something a little bit differently. So remember that the end of this year's tax season is that sometime sooner for next year. So while it's fresh in your mind, while filing your taxes is fresh in your mind, it's a great opportunity to remember some of the things that you might do differently as you prepare for next year. So if you got a tax refund and you're planning to spend it, I think the next thing that is a great opportunity for learning is to get your kids involved in deciding how you're going to spend the money. let them talk about, maybe if it is discretionary income and you're going to spend it on something fun, involve the whole family in talking about how to use it and how to use it wisely. For many of us, when we get a tax refund, unfortunately, the money is sort of already spent in our heads. Perhaps we've got some home repairs or some other necessity that we've been waiting for this money to spend, and that's okay, and that's good use of the money. But you can still get your kids involved in talking about how to make that refund stretch farther. So whether it is comparison shopping to make sure you're getting the best price for your product or services that you're going to use it for, maybe discussing discounts, deals, sales, any of those things that even if you, the parents, have already decided what that money's going to, your kids might be able to join in the conversation as to how to best use that money and make it stretch the farthest. Perhaps you're going to spend it, but you're not going to spend it right now. And so a lot of us take our tax refunds and we hold it for summer vacation. Maybe Christmas shopping or holiday shopping at the end of the year. Maybe it's something, that you do want to spend it, but you are not quite ready to spend it just now. And that's a really good way to utilize your refund. So talk with your kids about what you're going to do with that money in the meantime. Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to deposit it? And this is a great opportunity to talk to your kids about various options for deposit accounts, various institutions and various types of deposit accounts, where to keep that money in the meantime. And then to come up with a budget so that when you are ready to spend it, whether it's on a vacation, holiday shopping, any of those things that we might be holding money for, let your kids help you come up with the budget to allocate that money and to make sure that you've spent it as well and as thoughtfully as you can. It's a really great, even if the expenditure is not necessarily just something fun for the kids, it really does help them feel engaged and help them feel ownership of whatever the expenditure is, if they feel that they've got some control and some influence and some input into the spending decisions. Now, if you're going to make that deposit, a lot of us, of course, we utilize direct deposit, or if we do get a check, it's so tempting just to deposit that at an ATM to do something that's as convenient as possible. But one of the things that I've talked about on a number of occasions is if you have younger kids and you do have a refund check that you're going to deposit, make it a point, take that extra few minutes to take your kids with you to your bank or credit union and go into the branch to make the deposit. It's the sort of thing that we don't often think of on a day-by-day basis, and we're all so busy, we want to handle our finances in the quickest, easiest way possible. But once in a while, it's not a bad idea to just take that extra time to go into a branch, stand in line, walk up to a teller window so that your kids, especially the younger ones, get the opportunity to see what goes on in a financial institution. I think there's no better way to stress the importance of saving and investing your money than by setting a goal and setting an example ourselves as adults, showing our kids that we also are committed to thinking about saving money for the future. And so when we get a lump sum, like a tax refund, setting it aside, either starting a nest egg for your family, adding to your nest egg, possibly even allocating the refund among your own kids for their own accounts. Maybe you're starting their first savings account. But putting money into savings is not only good for them and good for the family, but it shows them that you're going to lead by example and you're going to make savings a priority. How do we talk to kids about this? Well, maybe let them use an online calculator to calculate the interest that they could expect to earn in a year's time or in several years' time, especially if you're thinking about depositing that tax refund in your child's college savings plan. Maybe you can calculate or have your kids calculate what that amount would likely earn between now and when they are expected to enroll in college. And it helps to make this all very real for them, and helps them to have the perspective of what that money is doing. Plus, anytime they're doing calculations, even with the help of an online calculator, anytime you revisit math, we know that numeracy is important to supporting financial literacy among kids, and we all want them to do better in math anyway, so it's a great opportunity to do calculations that have real life implications. Same thing with investments, and same thing with paying down debt. You can use calculators, you can use online calculators. There are a bunch of them, and usually what we do is if you don't have one that you already use, they're easy to find online, and certainly we would suggest that you use the Jumpstart Clearinghouse. We have a lot of educational tools that include calculators so that you can calculate what an investment might be expected to earn, what the benefit might be if you use your tax refund to pay down or pay off some debt. You know, what is the savings in interest if you pay it off now? So use those calculators to do these calculations, and this is something where even if it's hypothetical, there is value, and I say this perhaps for teachers who might be listening, and then maybe some of you, if your family didn't get a tax refund, it still is an exercise in what we might have done if we had gotten a lump sum. So these are still things that I think help us and help us show kids how money works without without revealing the entire family budget. And that's one of the reasons we are talking about this today, because I hear from parents a lot who say, you know, I want to teach my child budgeting, and I want them to see it in the perspective of our real family situation. But I'm not sure that I want to show them our whole household balance sheet, our whole household budget, you know, the full amount of income that the parents may be earning, the full amount of the rent or mortgage, you know, and I certainly understand that, and I respect the parents' decision to decide how much or how little they're going to share with their kids. And that varies, of course, depending on the age of your kids. So if your kids are very young, even if you are one that does believe in sharing, you know, the information fully with your kids, it may not be the time yet. So these are some of the things where, with a lump sum of money, you can sort of do the same thing. It becomes a small subset of a budget. So take the refund amount and allocate it. Budget for a special event like a birthday party. Budget for something like a family vacation. The principles of budgeting still work the same, even if it's not a household budget and making monthly payments. For some kids, and this is really, I think, important for all of our children to understand that one of the options when we get a lump sum of money isn't just how we spend it, save it, or invest it for ourselves, but how we share it with others. And so you might want to have a discussion with your kids about allocating some of your tax refund for charitable purposes. If not to a charity, a nonprofit organization, to make a donation, maybe it is money that you allocate for a school fundraiser. Maybe it's for your house of worship. Or maybe it's for something as simple as spending some of that money on somebody else, a gift, a special treat for someone who's important to you. Kids often, today, you know, kids have so much, and if you are a family that is fortunate enough to have, you know, plenty of money for the basics that your family needs, things come too easily to some of our kids, and a way that we're able to help them understand the value of a dollar is to help them see what that money might mean to someone else. If you're making a donation, of course, there are a lot of sites online that can help you determine that you're picking a good charity, a reputable one, a nonprofit tax-exempt charity, and one that is its mission is consistent with your ideals and is doing what you believe it's intending to do. And if you go to some of these sites, they will often tell you what a $5 or $10 or whatever amount, how they will use that and what the impact is on the person that they're serving. And so these are ways where your child, especially if maybe there isn't as much of an appreciation of money, it can understand how much a relatively small amount might impact someone who's less fortunate. In any case, I do believe that talking to our kids and allocating money, and so of course if your family is going to allocate your refund over several different types of things, saving some to share with someone else is not only important for your kids and for our society, but is a good way of instilling some financial principles. And so those are just, a wide range of ideas, as I mentioned. If you're just joining us now, these are things that don't pertain only to tax refunds. We're using the tax refund because it's April, and many of us who are getting refunds either have one coming soon or perhaps just received one not too long ago. So we're using this as a jumping off point for our discussion. But these suggestions really do apply to any time you get a non-recurring surprise lump sum of money. And so whether that's a gift, maybe it is a bonus, maybe it's even money that you won. But when we get these special amounts, it's a better reminder, because we're all so busy, it's hard for us to remember to have these conversations every time we receive a regular paycheck. It's hard for us in the course of our normal day sometimes to remember to have these conversations. So these special amounts are really good triggers and lets us focus on a lump sum to have these special discussions. I think that, again, I hope these are helpful to you in using ways, as ways to have these conversations with your kids. I want to just remind you that a lot of resources to help you with these conversations, you can find them in the Jumpstart Clearinghouse. I know that our partner, the IRS, has their Understanding Taxes web page, which is an educational page on the IRS website that is wonderful. It even has tips for teachers, but it is a site that will help you discuss how taxes work. Many of the educational products, we've got calculators, we have topics on comparison shopping, how to select a financial institution, many of the things we talked about. If you need some more resources, please go to our clearinghouse at jumpstartclearinghouse.org and look for some of the tools or find some that you already know. So I think that that is our takeaway. We will post this list on Facebook so that you can look at it in case you want to refer to it, or in case you're just joining us midway through and you didn't hear it all the way from the beginning. And as we close out our Facebook Live for April, just a few reminders. First of all, if you're in the DC area, tomorrow is Financial Literacy Day on Capitol Hill. You've probably seen our postings and maybe some of our Twitter announcements. Jumpstart and about 50 of our partners will be on Capitol Hill tomorrow from noon to 3 Eastern to display the many resources and much information about the progress that we're making in the quest to advance financial literacy, especially among young people. So if you're in the DC area, I invite you to come join us in the Rayburn building from noon to 3 p.m. tomorrow on April 28th. This event is free. It's open to the public. We serve a buffet lunch, and there are many, many exhibits and lots of information and resources for you to come and pick up to learn more about financial literacy. It is one of our favorite events of the year and of Financial Literacy Month. In a couple of weeks, well, about a week and a half, I think, or almost, anyways, on May 9th, we will be doing our first evening version of Facebook Live. So we're going to continue our Thursday afternoon sessions on the last Thursday of every month, but we're introducing a new session beginning May 9th, and it'll be the second Tuesday of the month at 8 p.m. Eastern. Now, this session, again, is open to all, but we've done this especially with teachers in mind, teachers who aren't always free during the day, during the afternoon when we do these sessions, because they're teaching and they're working with students. And so doing one in the evening gives an opportunity for more teachers to participate, as well as other busy working folks, and well, we know everyone's busy, and so having a couple of options, you can find one that works well for you. We picked the start, May 9th, as the start of our Tuesday evening sessions because it's also Teacher Appreciation Day in the middle of Teacher Appreciation Week, which runs the week of May 8th through 12th. And so for all of you teachers who are watching now, we will thank you then, but we thank you again now for all that you do. And for all of you who have a teacher in your life, who have a teacher in your child's life, don't forget Teacher Appreciation Week. Really not only our financial literacy teachers, but all teachers who are helping prepare the next generation of American consumers. And so with that, we want to thank you for joining us today, and thank you for a really great Financial Literacy Month. I think this has been one of the most exciting, robust Aprils that we've had in activities, in great news, in progress, and in collaboration. So thank you for all that you do to help us advance financial literacy. Thank you for all that you're doing to help us create a FinLit future for our nation's kids. And thank you for joining us throughout this April and throughout the year to celebrate financial literacy. We'll see you in May.